Nigeria's non-oil sector has continued to grow in leaps and bounds, dominating economic performance in the country's gross domestic product, thereby increasing government's revenue and addressing its perennial forex challenges. This impressive development has shown that the federal government's drive for economic diversification from oil to non-oil sectors, given the volatile nature of crude oil prices, is yielding the desired results. Now, according to the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, the country recorded significant revenue of $18 billion from 2015 to 2022 from non-oil exports such as urea, fertilizer, ginger, and sesame, making the nation the largest exporter of these commodities, which are high in demand in Europe. To give us more insight into this, well, sounds like a cherry news. We assess the growth prospect in the non-oil space and being joined via Zoom by the lead consultant, 3T Impex Trade Academy, Dr. Bamidele Ayemibo. It's good to have you on the show. Thank you so much, Dr. Ayemibo.
Good afternoon. How are you? And Happy New Year.
Yes, I wish you the same. Well, let's start with that figure, $18 billion in a period of 7 years. What is your reaction? I think we can definitely do better than this.
Sincerely, I need to be frank with you. It's not something you should rejoice over at all. That's so small compared to what we are capable of doing as a nation. I mean, in 7 years, that's not good enough. And when you look at those products also, you notice we see more of sesame seed and ginger, which are primary commodities. I think for the fertilizer will make a lot of sense because that's a value add product. But sincerely, I don't think that should be, because the challenge is this. If we celebrate things like this, and we see this as an achievement, then it also lowers the standard of what we should be aiming at. Because we can do a lot better than that. So in as much as it's good, I mean, at least we are making progress, but we can do a lot better. We can do a lot better.
Let's focus on the urea fertilizer. They said it's in large demand in Europe. How much of this are we producing here? Or how much of this do we have even in country?
The beauty now is, apart from Indorama, Petrochemical in Port Harcourt, who is the major exporter of this product already, a couple of other companies are coming up, and Dangote Fertilizer is going to contribute significantly to that. So we expect that to grow, really, which is good because, I mean, the raw material for this product produced in Nigeria is from crude oil. So there's no reason why we should be producing this in Nigeria. So I think that for me is a sharing news. The fact that the chance of being able to grow that is high because the raw material is here. But more importantly is the fact that we have Dangote Fertilizer who has now begun to export, and we expect to see a lot of increase in that space. And the fact that value addition also makes a lot of sense because we're also creating jobs back at home. Because it's important to say that when we focus on commodity exports, like someone said, we export job and import poverty. So urea fertilizer, I think, is a good way to go, even though it takes a lot to set it up. But I think we're doing so well in that area. And a good chunk, actually, of our export as a country is actually from that particular product.
So let's move on to speak about the one state, one product initiative, because many will say that there's a lot in every local government around us, across this country. Government has been talking about one local government, one product name. How well do you see this playing out if it works perfectly?
It's a good initiative, I must say. The question is, the people that the NEPC that came up with that, the people they are selling it to, are they willing to buy it? That's the challenge. If we can adopt that as a country and a state or a local government concentrate on the product that they have an advantage, be it in the mineral sector or in agri sector, I think we will do a lot in growing our export. But the truth is, majority of the state governors are not looking in this direction, understandably so, because you already have easier means of raising funding, of getting funding, otherwise called a federal allocation every month. That means even if the governor do nothing, he will still get allocation from federal government and be able to pay salary even when nothing is generated. I think that's a disincentive for them to think in this direction. But you know what? If we think in this direction and begin to see the need for this kind of initiative, our projection and analysis we've done for all the states in Nigeria shows that all the states in Nigeria are capable of generating more than enough to fund their capital and required expenditure and at the same time creating jobs. So they're not just increasing revenue and becoming independent of federal government, they can also create jobs. And how would they do this? Partner with a private sector who is good in that area. So for example, some states in the Southeast are good for palm oil, for example. Partner with that kind of state, that kind of company. So for example now, so a company that produces palm oil already, if my state have an advantage in palm oil, why can't I partner with that company to produce the palm oil? So I engage my people to farm those products, give them guarantee to buy up them, working with this private sector to process it, and then I should begin to export it. This kind of initiative. So at the end of the day, the people in the state are benefiting, the state government is benefiting, and is developed in a way that is sustainable over a very long period of time because everybody benefits from it.
How do we do more about our packaging, meeting standards? It is something that is very important when we want our goods to stay on the shelf with our other international players. They should be at par. But do we really have, we meeting all of these standards that will make our products so attractive to the international market?
That will bring me to a concept that I think the government should begin to look at seriously. When you hear that people go into export and they are not able to continue, or they drop out along the line, or they have delay incessantly, or they have losses, and this happens frequently, these are evidence of lack of export readiness. So when you talk about quality, when you talk about packaging, they are just evidence of lack of export readiness. So can we begin to take export readiness very seriously, doing assessment for businesses at the point of registration to get export certificate and license to ensure that they are ready, and if there are areas they are lacking, they can be supported and assisted so they can cover that gap before they begin to export. The challenge, issue in international market is this. If you send rubbish or you ship product that is not good, they will just ignore you and focus, because the competition is very high. They focus on other countries that are able to ship good quality products. So quality issue, packaging issue is a challenge for us, no doubt. Now, look at one of the ways we can solve that problem. I don't think that if I am exporting processed cashew nut, for example, if 4 or 5 companies in Nigeria are produce cashew nut, why should all of us set up processing plant and set up packaging location? Why can't we have a central packaging location where we can have a big organization that all I need to do is to give me my certification and it produce for me and charge me both in processing and packaging? That way, I don't need to worry a lot about this. I just need to contract it to a company that the government is supporting, which will be able to produce for me at a very competitive rate that will make me to be able to look away from that area because someone else is handling it and focus on another important area to make the business grow. This kind of synergy is what I think we need to be able to solve this kind of problem.
Interesting stuff there. But based on this achievement now, like we said, it's not something that we should really smile or rejoice about. What more kind of policies, or what policies do you think government can introduce at this time that can help expand our non-oil space for us to be able to get more money? We see what is happening to our budget, and we need money to service that document. What do you think?
So here are some of the recommendations I would make that the incoming government, I'm not sure the outgoing government might be able to do much in this space, but the incoming should consider. Number one, today in Nigeria, we have NISA. NISA is designed to support growth of agri-commodities and to help de-risk it, to make it attractive for banks to fund. Can we do the same for export and have export credit insurance that does not just cover, like Nexim is already doing one that covers political risk, but it's not covering counterparty risk? Can we begin to do export credit insurance? Can we begin to support financing of export locally with export credit guarantee to reduce the exposure or the risk of the bank? So that at the end of the day, we are helping the exporter to ensure that even if he exports to a zone where there are challenges, he can insure the risk. We are supporting the bank to ensure that the bank is also willing to be able to take on that risk because the risk has been largely mitigated. That way, it becomes a lot easier to be able to make this a success. So federal government must be deliberate on this kind of policy. If we can de-risk this sector, we're going to attract a lot of people and a lot of investment into the sector.
That really works. Let's go back to the issue of value addition, which is also something that is very key. We keep talking about it sometimes, but how well are we adding value to some of our produce? For example, when we have to move them abroad and they come back here and they are sold far more expensive than what we send abroad because we cannot add that value at this end. So how do you see us streamlining, working around that, and we begin to add more value to what we produce?
Central processing facility. In 2021, Nigeria exported cashew nuts in shell about $135 million. But the shell, that's cashew kernel that is out of shell, is 41. So in terms of value addition to that cashew nut, 41 million to 135. So 135 exported raw, but 41 processed. But we make more money from 41 than the raw that we exported. Can government work with private sector, set up a processing center? If I have raw cashew nut, a place I can take it to, and they can process for me within a short time at a reasonable rate. And I'm talking about government supporting so that the company in question will not be profit-driven, but rather being interested in increasing the volume of what you can do at a reasonable price and ensuring the quality of their output. If we do this, then we can reduce significantly how many raw material we are sending out. Because setting up these factories are very expensive, but if government is supporting the private sector who already have the expertise, expand their capacity, and I can just take my stuff there, process it, and then I can ship it to my buyer rather than doing commodity. So this kind of support from the government for private sector to be able to expand production, a value addition processing facility, so that individuals who cannot afford to set up those facilities can take it, and it can be done for cocoa to cocoa butter, it can be done for shea nut to shea butter, it can be done for cashew nut to process cashew nut or shell or cashew kernel. It can be done for different commodities in Nigeria, and we will not just create jobs, but we'll be increasing the amount we are making. Let me give you an example how serious this thing is. If I export a container of cashew nut, 70 metric ton in a container, max $20,000, the total I will earn, 20-feet container, because it's about 70 ton in a container. If I export a container of cashew kernel, even if I do it at about 8,000, sometimes it might even be up to $10,000 per ton. And if I put about 20 ton in a container, that's over $150,000. And I'll pay the same transport cost to destination. One is bringing about $20,000 to Nigeria. One is bringing over $100,000 to Nigeria. So who is making money? If we have a common processing center, then we can achieve this, and then we can increase income. And talking about AFCFTA, we can export raw materials to other African countries that Nigeria is better off. If we are going to make AFCFTA work for Nigeria, this is inevitable because we must export value-added manufactured goods. Most of our agri and minerals are going to Europe and Asia. Most of our value-added manufactured goods are going to African countries, West Africa, Central Africa. If we do this kind of processing center, increase the value addition, then we will be able to win as far as AFCFTA is concerned.
Anyway, before I let you go, let's talk around the prospects for this sector. Despite all of these challenges, the outlook still looks bright. And you mentioned the AFCFTA. Many say that Nigeria should not become a dumping ground. And I think that's part of what you mentioned, that we need to produce goods that will meet up. But our manufacturers are crying on one hand. Don't forget about that. So what is your outlook considering all of these challenges?
So, Lou, the truth is, the outlook is great for export in Nigeria. In spite of the challenges, sometimes when Naira is devalued, for a country that is productive, devaluation is a good news for exporters. So, and now that CBN is even encouraging exporters by paying 65 Naira to $1 to be able to reduce the cost of exporting, I think it's encouraging. And with the billions of Naira that have been paid already as of last year to continue to this year to be able to meet the RT200FS, the outlook is great. And of course, NEPC confirmed last year that we export about $4 billion non-oil. So, and compared to what we did last year before, which was not even up to 3 billion. So there is, the awareness increasing. In fact, the fact that a lot of importers need foreign exchange, they can't get that foreign exchange They are beginning to see the need to generate their own foreign exchange instead of sitting down for months waiting for CBN. So the awareness is increasing, the desire is increasing, and we hope to see a lot of increase and growth in this sector in this year and in coming years.
That's a good one. Well, let's leave it on that optimistic note. I must thank you so much for your time, despite your tight schedule. Dr. Bamidele Ayemibo is the lead consultant to the Impex Trade Academy. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much.